Welcome everybody to this week's town hall meeting. Glad for all you can make it on Halloween here. I'd like to wish you happy Halloween, and we will get started with our updates. And we have a special guest today, Big Pig from Raptoreum, and he will tell us about Raptoreum, its coin, how it works, and what all they have going on. So to go over the updates for this week. We are getting real close to having the wallet released for iOS, Android, and the desktops. We've had to do a lot of testing specifically with the iOS. It was coming out real buggy due to how Xcode works, but we've hammered out all the bugs and we should be having this out very shortly. This will enable pirate atomic swaps. I actually was just doing some today earlier, swapping pirate between R to USDC and back. So pirate will have stablecoin pairs to swap against. Know a lot of the pirate community was looking forward to that.
We're going to get FUSD as well soon.
FUSD? What? Oh, okay, yeah, was not aware of that one. What platform is it built on?
It's on Zano.
On Xano?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, with Xano, with its running signatures and confidential transactions, we can't do them yet. However, ring signatures we are planning on working on here this upcoming year. So we'll be working towards to getting them and their assets integrated along with other protocols like Zephyr protocol and its USD, stablecoin that is created. But yeah, so unfortunately, currently FUSD, no, but we do have a lot of the different stablecoins that are on Ethereum, Polygon, and a dozen other, EVM-based chains. So continuing with the updates, we have.
Do you mind if I ask? I'm a little bit curious. How does it work with Base? Because Base being a roll-up, you need to have massive number of confirmations before the transactions are actually finalized.
We actually just did swaps with Base, so that'll be actually integrated here very shortly. Now, I will, to be honest, to answer your question, I don't have the exact facts on that. I believe it's based off of the internal confirmations that they have on the L2 itself. In regards to Base, as I was saying, it's based off of Base's own confirmations in the beginning. It doesn't wait for the finalization to write back to Ethereum on it. I do know the swaps though are working for it because I was helping test those this past week. But yeah, I will have to sync with the devs to actually get full explanation of how the confirmations work. But I believe it's just based off of the L2 itself.
Okay, because I know it's been a problem in a lot of other places, both with Base and with Polygon, with them suddenly having a large reorg, and once they have the large reorg, it really screws with everything. They've had 20, 30, even 40,000 block deep reorgs.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, so that's good to know. I will confirm with our team how handles that. But just to be honest, I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have to find out from the devs.
Yeah, no stress, man. No stress. It's just one of those things. Once you've heard it a couple of times, you really want to make sure that you don't get hammered with it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 30,000 block deep reorg is pretty big. So yeah, I can imagine safety is the primary concern there.
It's because of the way they do the proofs, and the proofs are not always 100% solid. The roll-up proofs, there is apparently a very small margin for error in some of them, and occasionally when that happens, they get a miss. if you look at, do you know ChainSpect?
No, I've not heard of chain.
What is it called? ChainSpect dot something. They'll give you all the low down dirty details on transaction failure rates and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of alarming for all of the EVM chains and Solana in particular.
Oh yeah, Solana is a beast into its into itself because it's not really like an EVM chain. They run their own thing, but you have very similar issues due to their very fast block times and how their validator system works. You know, they,
Yeah,
beyond that, they have other issues.
also RPC. Their RPC service is not good enough to run at the speed they try to run it at.
Right. Yeah, that, and they also have issues with their storage based requirements as well. Last I heard, they were at like half a petabyte already, and they've been around only what, like 5, 6 years, uh, if that.
No, not that long. Not that
Uh,
long. Three and a bit, four
working a bit. Oh,
at most.
yeah. So it's even worse than than I thought. Uh, so yeah, they are. Yeah, they're going to have to figure out their issues, and unfortunately, I don't see them lasting long term, or at least in without casting off any semblance of decentralization that they have left. It's yeah, the requirements for it are very strenuous. So yeah, wish them best of luck, but we'll see how they play out in the long run. Um, okay, so yeah, a couple other updates. Following up on the bit refill integration. Um, so we've been working on this for quite a while. It's mainly just a paperwork issue. The actual integration portion, the coding portions are already done, so we should be seeing that here soon as we get the API key necessary to run into it. Unfortunately, they require it now before they used to have it. If you could run it without an API key, but now they changed it. Um, we've had some media coverage in Decrypt and Unchained about digital asset treasuries and Finder.com and Blockchain Reporter as well. We're going to have another Cointelegraph op-ed regarding our trading protocol upgrade, which will be announced here soon. As soon as Omar gets back from his break, which will be next week. We are having an interview with Yay Network, the second week of November, and we are scheduling another podcast appearance on the Entangle Things podcast. Um, for with Kadan. Let's see. So yeah, this week was mainly a bunch of testing team wide, specifically on the iOS app, but also with the web app and the desktops. We plan on having a full release finally here as soon as possible. We're hoping for next week here. Everything seems to be working a lot better, especially on the iOS app. That was the big hang up. Um, and yeah, we'll be announcing the Pirate Atomic swaps being activated in the web app here as soon as that goes live. Okay, so without further ado here, we'll uh, turn the mic over here to Big Piggy. And just, oh, yep. Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, I forgot to turn it over to you for the marketing
Yeah,
update.
no worries. It's not much. I've expanded the output as to where these shows go every week. So now we are subscribers to SoundCloud. So we will also be on SoundCloud. We are on other places too, like Mixcloud. But after 10 shows, they want you to pay for it. So next week we'll subscribe to that one as well, and we'll keep building and building so that our shows are on all these platforms and not just focus on one like most projects do. We're not just on YouTube. We're not just on Rumble. we have to be everywhere, right? So at some point, we want to have this, more people listening to the shows, and every one of these platforms have different people on it, and everyone is important. So even if one of these platforms only get 2 or 3 listeners, I'm okay with that. Because you don't know who those 3 people are. So it's important. Everyone's important. We also have coin conspiracy happening in New York City in a month from now, guys. If you're in the New York area, come on down, come meet me. Uh, Komodo will be there. We'll be giving away Komodo as well, and Pirate, guys. So if you're in New York or close to the New York City area, hit me up if you want to come on down. And well, I'm not sure if the tickets are sold out yet, but I do know that we have over 150 people already, and it keeps building. My partner Randy, that's doing it with me, is he's really good at this stuff. So he already got most of the seats filled. But if you want to come down, we'll make room for you. All right. And that's about it. On marketing, the SEO front, I've been experimenting with a lot of AI now. So AI could do SEO uh, a lot better than a Google dashboard, I heard. So I was, and if you know SEO, Google dashboard is like the go-to. Well, not anymore. So I've been experimenting with that. I've seen some really interesting data that have brought to my attention, and I'll bring it to the SEO people's attention when I see it, as I've been doing. Uh, and SEO is a past. It's more like a base, guys. So having good SEO will not bring people, but it will allow them to find you easier, which is the reason why you do it. Um, So, but don't expect doing SEO will bring anything to the project except for a great history and a great place, a great way for people to find you. So if you type in Komodo Exchange in the search, you should be able to get the right website on the front page, along with 10 other different social medias to that Komodo Exchange website. At the moment, I'm not seeing that, so we have to keep working on that. We want to dominate that first page for Komodo Exchange, and at some point, decentralized exchange and other keywords. Uh, all right, guys, and that's all I got for you. Thank you, Paulo.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, speaking of SEO, our metrics are actually kind of up quite a bit, especially for a lot of terms you might think like native crypto markets, um, cryptocurrency wallets and such. And we are getting a good bit of clicks and impressions here. Nearly 1 million impressions last month, close to 6,500 clicks as well. So it definitely is paying off, but it's a long-term return on investment, not something that drives thousands of people in a day or anything like that. Um, but slowly but surely, as we keep it up, it will more and more people will find us and get to understand about the benefits of trading via DEX. Um, so yeah, I guess for now, I'll like turn the mic over to Big Piggy. He's our guest from Raptoreum today, and will tell us about Raptoreum, its history, all about how it works, what they got going in the mix, and what we can expect in the future. So, Big Piggy, I'll turn the mic over to you now.
Oops, it helps if you turn your mic on. Um, okay. Yeah, let's see. I think most of us know each other here tonight. RTM started in 2018. We were some guys on Ravencoin who were talking about what would happen if we took Ravencoin and added 2 things to it. One, some protection against 51% attacks, and 2, smart contracts. So we started off looking at different models of 51% attack protection. We looked at Komodo DPoW. We looked at the depower implementation from what is it they're called? I can't remember what they're called. They don't seem to be around much now. The really young kids who were doing depower, but where you could also mine by embedding transactions in the Bitcoin blockchain. So you would send an op return message in a Bitcoin transaction with your fucked if I can remember the name of it now. Coin address in it, and yeah.
Yeah, the notary node operators are still up and around and functioning. We're still protecting other chains.
No, not just Komodo and the Komodo ecosystem. What was it they were called? There was an offshot from you guys who took the mechanism and did some relatively shoddy re-implementation of it. They worked extensively with Cell.
I'll say Veriblock or something to that effect.
Yeah, Veriblock. Yes, you're right. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, they've kind of disappeared somewhat out of the limelight, at least. And we were looking at the Zcash implementation of not accepting reorgs beyond a certain point. And we fairly quickly came to the conclusion that what seemed to be the most decentralized option was to go with the new Dash model. Back then, Dash's deterministic LLMNQ wasn't really a thing yet. It was just slowly being rolled out, but we liked the fact that you could get so many node owners involved with it. It turned out to be a bit of a nightmare to implement on a new chain, because the way the code was structured on Dash, it was structured to implement and disperse on a chain that already had 4,000 nodes operating on it at the time. So if they weren't all operating 100% up to scratch, it wasn't really something that would matter very much, because there would be plenty to take over. So we got it implemented, we got it working on the test net. We have our own CPU proof of work algorithm that is extremely FPGA resistant. It's not immune from FPGAs. It just has such a huge and ugly instruction set that you need FPGAs that are absurdly expensive to mine it. Which is a good thing, because that means the design from an FPGA to an ASIC goes slower, and that means we can keep it decentralized for longer.
I gotta say that's what attracted me to RTM back in the day. I think I was there when you first started it, and the CPU mining is it's legendary, right? Everybody wants a CPU mineable coin, and they still do. It's one of those exotic things, and that's hard to find.
Yeah, and I mean, it's good because it lowers the bar to entry. We had so many people from so many different places jumping on. I mean, some of the stories from back in the early days, we had some kids in Chile who were actually supposed to be scrapping a bunch of old office machines, a whole container full. They set them up together with some jury-rigged hydropower and started mining on a couple of cell phone connections. And after, I believe it was a couple of months, they'd actually made enough money to put in a proper small hydro plant and get some real equipment in. And it was awesome. We've got a couple of schools in Kenya who overnight drain down they have, what do you call it? Those unstable liquid batteries? The ones that you preferably decharge them completely over the night,
Oh,
and
like
then you
capacitors.
charge them back. like capacitors, but not really. It's somewhere in between. It's a very, very cheap liquid battery. Let's put it like that. But if you let them stay charged for too long, they start degassing and they start doing all kinds of nasty shit.
Okay. I know they
So
make batteries with salt these days. The latest batteries just use salt.
yeah, I can't remember what tech stack it is they're using for it precisely, but we're helping a school in Kenya send their kids to school
Nice.
because overnight their batteries drain into basically RTM mining on some of the school hardware, which is lovely. We've had people from all over, New York, Western Europe, Russia, and I mean, our first press conference or press coverage, sorry, after we launched the mainnet was actually from Brazil. It was Shadow Crypto, a decent sized YouTuber from Brazil. He covered us and we were extremely grateful to him for getting things rolling, and he helped us gain a lot of attention. We gained a very large amount of traction in Russia and in the Ukraine, which unfortunately a bit later on in the whole scheme of things led to a bit of a downfall. But coming back to where we were and where we started off, we launched the mainnet with a Dash fork with custom proof of work put into it, to which we inside the first month successfully launched as the first a chain with LLMNQs, which is the consensus of smart nodes or master nodes, call them either, I don't really care, on chain that were banning bad master nodes and signing transactions into the network. What happens from a transaction being signed into the network is that if somebody does 51% attack you, all they can do is move the last block reward, because the last block reward will not have been signed yet by the entire network. But any transaction that's already been included in a block and been signed by the node quorum is 100% immutable, meaning the chain checks itself backwards. If those transactions are missing, it won't go on. So there's nothing for a 51% attacker or the other proof of work attack, selfish mining. There's nothing for anybody to gain from doing that other than a block reward, and that's just not worth the setup, the cost, the hassle in any way, shape, or form. So we launched with that, and we launched with a scaling collateral on the nodes, because we had deliberately had a very high emissions curve, and we still do have a fairly high emissions curve. We've got a total supply of 21 billion, similar to Raven. Instead of it having a halving every couple of years, we put in a gradual decline, gradual monthly decline in emissions, which kicked in after, when was that, 18 months in. And up to that point, we had the collateral of the nodes scaling up, so they would sort of reduce some of the sell pressure on the market, and they would show that basically there were a lot of people interested in the chain. And there are currently, we are slightly down due to inodes having had to cease operations. They were a shared node service, so a lot of smaller holders had pooled funds on there. They didn't exit or anything like that. They just couldn't continue to operate in a reasonable manner where they would get anything for their own time. And I mean, you've got to get something for your time, even in crypto. It can't all be idealism like the early days on Bitcoin. Even the early days on Bitcoin weren't really idealism, because a lot of the early whales, if they saw you doing something useful, they would come along and incentivize you, tip you. Where we got to from there, we implemented time lockable transactions on chain, meaning I could send Lutz a bag of coins and they will not be spendable until a certain number of blocks or a certain timestamp has expired. We're doing that because then you can do things like NFT distributions. You can do things like dividend payments, all kinds of stuff, really, and prove that the funds are there, they have been sent, they will unlock at such and such a time. They're actually already in your wallet. So you don't have the whole issue with having to trust a centralized smart contract. To mess with one of those transactions, you have to mess with the whole chain, you have to take on the double consensus mechanism, and it's just not going to happen. Which is a useful feature in itself. We've gotten assets implemented, somewhat similar to Raven, but different, meaning the assets are on the protocol layer, not like ERC20 tokens on an EVM chain. ERC20 tokens are a little bit of extra code that get injected into the EVM blockchain and kind of like float in a bubble on the outside of the blockchain, a bubble or tunnel or something like that. Whereas ours are actually inside the chain itself, riding the rails along with the blocks and the main chain coins. So right when we had assets on testnet, we had some real shit happen, and it affected a lot of projects, but we got hit probably worse than most others because around 40 to 50% of our community was from either Russia or the Ukraine, and the whole war, it made people panic. We had people dumping in Russia to get out of Russia because they didn't want to get drafted into the army. We had Ukrainians panicking because they didn't want to get drafted into the army either. So everybody panic selling, and it couldn't have come at a worse possible time for the project. When the tanks rolled in, we were literally 3 days from closing OTC deals. We just raised funds to list on Bitmart and on dApps. The team didn't quite have enough to cover it, so we'd raised, I believe, 15 grand from the community, and the team had put up 60 grand. And where we went to from there was the value of those 60 grand in coins we'd raised went overnight from 60 grand to the next day down to 30 to a couple of days after that. Back up again a little bit, thankfully, because we'd already initialized. The deal at that point in time was to list a BSC token on Bitmart and dApps first, and then they would integrate the main chain at their leisure after that. So we ended up only getting the BSC part of the deal, and a lot of hard feelings from the community because basically they felt that we should have refunded everything. You can't refund everything when you've already converted about half of what you were going to convert. It makes a mess. Who gets a refund? Who doesn't get a refund? Etc. It turns into a nasty mess. So we went on from there, managed to keep things afloat, working well, working with CoinEx. I must say CoinEx is one of the best exchanges to work with, really. There are just never any issues with them. They're not hysterical about anything that I've ever seen, other than just don't be a US user who comes in without using a VPN. We worked with them. Things went okay. We were kind of in survival mode. It demotivated two of the guys who were contributing relatively heavily towards code. There wasn't really much we could do about it, but we started gaining a little bit of momentum again. And then FTX happened, which was reasonably okay for us. We didn't get hurt too badly. We didn't have major panic selling. We got a good smack across the nose, as did the whole of the crypto community. But we then took out some of the last of our reserves and went to list on, I believe this was 6 months after the FTX collapse, to list on AAX. If any of you remember AAX, they were an up-and-coming Hong Kong exchange. They were doing extremely well. They were placing between number 12 and number 15 on Gecko very consistently. We made a deal with them. We're getting very reasonable terms, especially because they believed we could bring in a lot of the proof of work community. So we got basically a listing for, I believe it was 15 grand at the time, plus some liquidity. However, and this is where it gets really bad, it turned out that after we paid, their CFO fucked off to Taiwan. And he fucked off to Taiwan with the contents of most of the exchange wallet. Because he'd been hiding for several months that their hedge fund had essentially wiped out on FTX. They could have restructured. They could have picked everything back up. They were doing well enough to do that. However, he chose to fuck off with the money instead. And he now has a warrant out for his arrest in Hong Kong for criminal fraud, which is a pain in the ass because he's in Taiwan, and officially Taiwan does not exist, so you cannot be extradited from Taiwan. I don't think even Uncle Sam has managed to extradite anybody from Taiwan.
Wow.
As far as I'm aware. Yeah, but it's because it would violate the whole one China, two systems thing if they were to officially extradite somebody from there. And that would cause all kinds of other diplomatic and financial problems. But Hong Kong, that AAX debacle, that was a slap in the face. Out of desperation, two of the other guys from the team decided to put us on P2B, despite me telling them not to. All of you know P2B. It's not a place to trade. It's not a place to put your money. It's not a place to buy anything. It's a place to just avoid.
Gotcha.
It's an Italian-Ukrainian scam exchange.
Those damn Italians. All right.
No, the owner was Italian. His whole operations team and financial backing team, etc., Ukrainian.
Hey,
Right bunch of cunts. Yeah.
Why did you come up with the name? Like, who came up with the name Ghost Rider for Raptoreum's algorithm?
That was.
It's a cool name.
We were all getting kind of drunk one night. Everybody's sitting with their bottles live on a Discord chat and raising them, and it started with the whole ghost in the machine thing, which is that goes all the way to back to William Gibson and some of the stories and books he wrote in the early to mid 80s about AI getting loose. And that's where sort of a lot of the whole cypherpunk thing comes from. Some of Gibson's books, some of the German books that were written at the same time, they were a big inspiration to a lot of the cyberpunk and cypherpunk people. So we kind of imagined this algo as riding the ghost in the machine. No Johnny Cash songs, unfortunately. Yeah, it was a good name and it's worked. A lot of people have liked it. We've been forked. Yeah, we're probably one of the most forked coins around, honestly, other than BTC and LTC.
Yeah, I wanted to
I
ask
think
you
there's,
about that. How
uh,
many are there? There's like 176 forks of Ghost Rider.
yeah, yeah, I think that's what Mining Pool Stream has up at the moment. Yeah,
Why did everybody go crazy and start forking it? Like, was it like why did it get so
because
popular?
because I mean the model balances in so many ways. You can take the scaling collateral on the nodes, use it to balance out the emissions. You can lock up coins for longer periods of time using the futures transactions. You can issue assets on chain. We are very close to starting to publicly commit what we call transaction decoupling code, which means transactions, the only thing that's going to get recorded on the chain initially is going to be them getting signed in there by the node quorum. This
Eh,
reduces the amount of data that has to be written to the blockchain for the regular wallet holders. So it'll only be stored if you're actually running a smart node or master node. It'll speed up the network sync for local wallets, and it'll allow not stupidly fast TPS, but something like 500 TPS or close to it, 600 TPS,
said that
which
for a
is
second.
quite a bit faster than what Ethereum is running now. But it's not up to the levels of some of the gross, exaggerated claims that some of the other chains have come with. And with our 2-minute block time, we will still be doing that with a 2-minute block time. So that means when things start falling to pieces, we will be one of the few chains that still works, basically. Because even if AWS on the East Coast goes down and the main pipelines to Europe are gone, we don't have a block time of a few seconds where it will get fucked trying to find its way around through another channel. We've got 2 minutes of block time, which is plenty for everything to still propagate unless the bombs start falling all the way along the Atlantic seaboard and down through South America across that seaboard as well. So we've got resilience planned in there. What we've got coming up now is some people would say it's anti-cypherpunk in some ways. Some people would say it's most definitely cypherpunk because you're using cryptography to protect IP. We've got an IP protection platform coming out that's going to launch on RTM as a SaaS service, meaning if you are a musician, a content creator, you can put your content on there and you can get a token for it with all the metadata you want. The content doesn't have to be public. You can wrap it up inside a password encrypted PDF file and attach that to it. It'll go up on the platform's private IPFS cloud. So you're ensured redundant storage. And let's say you sit at home and write a few tunes, you're playing a tune here, and you upload it on chain. 2 years later, you've got what's her name, the horrible skank, Taylor Swift, playing the same shit in one of her songs. You've now got the basis to go and sue. And it's fully admissible in a US court because you're paying for it as a service, as a SaaS service. That makes it a regular part of the business process, which means I can essentially show up in court and testify as to why this is real, verifiable, and there is a net 0% chance of anybody having fucked with it in any way at all. Actually, quite a few people can show up and testify to that effect, but it's a good use of the chain. It's a bit different, but if we get just a little bit of traction, we're going to see quite a few people using it. We've got our own vendor platform coming out as well, which is going to take a little bit longer. We've got the first NFT marketplace is just about to go into beta. It's just finished an alpha phase. But this IP protection platform, the same bones we've used for building this IP protection platform, we're also looking at doing a credentials management platform. And the people we're working with for the credentials management platform are mainly maritime universities and several Coast Guard agencies. Do any of you guys know what a mariner's book is?
No. Explain it to us here.
Okay. A mariner's book is if you are in position to crew on a ship and you crew officially, you'll have a mariner's book which lists the credentials, the exams you've taken, so you can actually legally have areas of responsibility aboard ship. Getting them recognized from one country to another can be a pain in the ass, especially if they are not in the same language. So what we offer is they're on chain. You can verify that the correct university or technical college published them. You can verify that they have a number from their local Coast Guard. You can verify that nobody has tampered with it. And that should make life a lot easier if you're a merchant seaman and you're applying for a transport, a transfer visa in some port, more or less anywhere. It should also make life easier when you're applying for a job, because some of the largest shipping lines, they want to do their due diligence and make sure that they're not hiring somebody who's unqualified for a job. Your credentials can be checked and verified a lot faster. And overall, I see this as a pretty good thing because it's wholly voluntary and it's professional stuff only. There's nothing personal on there. And again, the content doesn't have to be publicly available. You can lock it up in a PDF. You can lock it up with a particular form of encryption. I mean, you can encrypt files that go on IPFS with just about anything. So if it's a specific university, they can encrypt the credentials they issue in a particular way. So you have that as an extra verification of it actually being from that university. And then the merchant seaman can provide you with a password to download. Well, no, you can always download the files, but to extract the files from the password protected archive or however it's encrypted on the cloud, which should be a very large improvement for a lot of people. And the third service we've got running is EdTech, which we have just been approved by an Australian state-level government for a trial project. They are just figuring out how and when to find funding, etc., for it, where Aboriginal kids, that means Indigenous Australian kids, like same as Indian Americans, where they can do what they call storytelling projects that the chain then makes sure lives on forever, basically. So they're going to create sort of a living ledger of what it means to be a kid in Australia, which is also a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Hopefully they can get the grant funding for that.
They've gotten approved. The project is in principle approved. I've got copies of the approval letter from the MOE. It's in the stage where they're trying to figure out if it's a federal education fund that's going to provide grant funding for it, or if the state government in the state it's in is going to provide the funding for it itself. So it would work as in on the platform, the state government would get like basically a master access, and then they can issue credentials to each, let's say it's year 4 teachers. So each year 4 teacher, each year 4 English teacher can get a set of credentials and just a username and a login for the platform with a quota on it. And that quota is the number of uploads they can do on chain for that. Then it comes with a custom explorer where you can sort of roll through the stories as they come in.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. It's like, and people in the future can look back in the past of what people dreamed up and the story set.
It's so kids in the future can see what kids in the past felt like and how they expressed themselves.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that's a pretty damn cool thing, really, to sort of contextualize the whole thing, what's going on and how it's been going on, etc.
Yeah. We're at the top of the hour now, so I'd like to turn the mic over to anyone who might have a question for Big Piggy here in Raptoreum. I see one here in the chat, wondering if people can trade this Raptoreum on the Komodo exchange, and that the answer to that is yes. It is.
Most definitely, yes. And we've even got on that side of things, we've got a market maker I work with. RTM hasn't worked with them until now, but I personally work with them reselling their products. They have been busy integrating the Komodo DEX, and we are expecting to start up a trial with them fairly soon on Komodo.
Awesome.
On RTM.
Yeah, and let us know if you need any help with the setup or anything.
I think we're more or less good. We just need to hit a patch where they've got a little bit of extra bandwidth, and we're going to do a demo. And once we've done the demo, we'll see if we can't figure out a good way to sell some packages.
Awesome. That sounds great. Yeah, well,
yeah, I think so. I mean, it should be the way to do it, because personally managing a market, it can very quickly become a chore because you can't leave. The markets are on 24/7. You can't. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning and somebody's bought everything you had on offer, you'd better go put something else on offer, or people are going to not come back again.
Right. That and rebalancing and everything. Yeah, it could be quite intensive.
It can be an intensive amount of work. Yeah. And I personally prefer to get some professionals to do that for me. That means I sleep better at night and it's done better.
Yep,
or to run a bot that can do it. But running a bot that can do it, market making bots are usually pretty dumb. and they're a good way to lose money.
Yeah, they can be tricked.
Unless you use them for something very specific, like a liquidity mining campaign using Hummingbot or something like that, where you're trying to maintain a very tight spread, and the longer you have orders inside this tight spread that don't get filled, the more you actually get paid by the exchange incentivizing it. Which sounds backwards, but it's not. It's what they want to see on their order books. They want to have a lot of people there to see that you can trade 20K of whatever and not experience any slippage, any real slippage, or less than 0.01% slippage or something like that. And many of the exchanges are more than happy to pay good money for that kind of liquidity provision. And you can do that with a market making bot fairly easily without getting burnt on it. But regular market making, like staircasing orders for you and all that kind of stuff, it's dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. I managed to have it running nicely on South Exchange, and it's the only place where it hasn't gotten screwed up. But then about a month after, or was it 2 months after I'd gotten it to run nicely there, they decided to close, which was unfortunate. That was a good little market.
Oh yeah, I remember South Exchange had kind of the smaller coins out there, which made it real good.
Yeah, and at the same time they had BTC Lightning. So if you had funds on Kraken or funds on any of the other places that offer Lightning withdrawals, you could fund them for 1 sat fee. That's very nice.
Yeah, especially with how high Bitcoin fees can be at times.
Yeah, but I mean, it was 50. Some of the exchange fees were like 50K sats, 100K sats. We're here in the South Exchange and we're paying 10 sats for a deposit. And for small cap coins, that means everything, because it's suddenly you're a lot more tradable because you don't cost a stupid amount of money to go in and actually buy. Like if the first $100 are burnt just in fees on going in, funding the exchange and withdrawing again, it's a lot less attractive. And that was the case at peak crazy after our launch. We had a massive run right at launch as well. It was hilarious. A couple of Russian tech bloggers had written an article about us, sort of halfway joking, haha, like, look at this new coin. Yeah, this new coin, that's why you can't buy a Ryzen CPU anywhere. It's their fault. Everybody's buying all the Ryzens to mine this stuff. And they were kind of halfway joking. But what happened was somebody at El País in Argentina was having a slow news day or had come to the office with a hangover. Then they Google translated this article into Spanish. And apparently, if you Google translate from Spanish into Russian, from Russian into Spanish, all the humor goes away. So they ran a full-page article about RTM, and all of a sudden we were viral all over Latin America. Exploded into more newspaper stories, YouTubers from Chile, and then it turned out that quite a few influencers had also been looking at RTM, and we were on Mind Your Biz, Gamers Meld, Ivan on Tech multiple times. And the price just kept on rocketing. And I mean, it rocketed like, like there was no tomorrow. It was absolutely crazy. We went to close to 10 cents. I sat and did escrow for OTC so people didn't get scammed doing OTC. And I think 50 nodes must have changed hands at a BTC each around the point of time of peak craziness in November, December 2021. It was, yeah.
Well, yeah, sometimes it just takes that, one lucky article and set off a chain reaction to cause
I mean,
a big boom.
we were happy. We were doing nicely. We'd gotten up to 1 cent. I think I know someone in the room who may have been responsible for helping getting us running up to 1 cent. And I mean, we were doing great. But then this happened and everything just went nuts.
Yep. Well,
Um,
yeah, we have to wrap it up here. Do you have any final words for the community? And
feel free to come on over. We're always reasonably welcoming. There's trivia on a couple of nights a week. Very soon, Paul will be back to doing that because he's done remodeling his house. And that will lift that up a bit. And yeah, if you want to come over and have a look at how to build SaaS solutions on chain, there are a lot of us who are very happy to talk about that, either in the main server or in our development server. The main server is a little bit more wild, rowdy, free for all. Not quite as rowdy as the pirate server, but almost. The development server is sort of for having a quiet technical discussion and will be moderated. So there should be something for everybody. Thanks for having me on. Thanks, Luke, for the invite. Thanks for the time on the show. Paulie. No, Paulie. Sorry.
yes. Yes, no problem. Yeah, we're always glad to hear about other communities and expose people to everything that's happening in different projects. Because crypto isn't it shouldn't be just some siloed type of organization.
No,
It should be, everybody
e-
working together.
exactly. Just like in the old days.
Right. Exactly.
Just like in the old days where you could help each other out instead of all of this. My coin is more private than your coin, and
Right.
my
Yeah.
coin is better than your coin.
Yeah. Yeah. The maximalism is kind of a problem in crypto, but hopefully, with what we're doing at Komodo and with these interviews like the one we had here today, we can start breaking down that wall. That's all we have here today, everyone. Have a happy Halloween, and we will continue with our shows here on next Friday. Um, you know, uh, Hopefully, we will have our next wallet update out for everyone to try. We're looking forward to it, and finally get our mobile versions out, so people can use it with the new updated unified code base. So have a good weekend, everyone.
That sounds great, man. Thank you.